suppose normally when you give an academic a podium, they'll use the occasion to talk about their research and try and convince you how brilliant they are and use it as a bit of a self-promotion or marketing exercise. But that's not what I think today is about, so no slides today, just some words, and I'm not going to keep you for too long. I want to use the time I have with you today to talk about, I suppose, what the promise of a connected and integrated health system or approach to management of health can do for us all. I mean, it's no secret that the healthcare system is in dire need of repair and reform. We have an ageing population, an associated rise in chronic disease incidences, and also spiralling healthcare costs are forcing us to really reimagine the way we approach management of health, and also social care as well. And thankfully, I suppose in recent years we've had access to rapidly expanding technological capabilities that give us an opportunity now to look towards development of a completely new model for healthcare, a proactive model for healthcare. In recent times, we've witnessed a lot of advances in terms of our availability to both biological and digital technologies that are at our disposal for bringing about a new model for healthcare. I suppose on the biological front, we've seen a lot of advances in genomics and personalised medicine to the point where we now know an awful lot more about our susceptibility to different diseases, and as well as that, we can even get down to, at a personalised medicine level, understand which therapeutics are going to work for individual patients. On the digital side, we've seen a lot of advances in mobile and cloud computing, communications platforms, social media and sensing technologies. In recent years. I mean, if you think back, 2007 was when we really saw the first smartphone, and it's become a ubiquitous technology since then. So things are happening pretty quickly. This year there were over 1 billion smartphones sold in the world. And if we look at another kind of more recently emerging part of this world, and we look at the market for personal fitness and sensing devices, the activity monitoring devices, this was something that just didn't really exist only a couple of years ago, since the turn of the decade. But last year in the United States, there was $300 million worth of those devices sold. And this market is expected to rise exponentially to the extent that by the year 2017, there are expectations for shipments of 500 million personal sensing devices worldwide. So what people are doing, this is I suppose, is a consumer-led revolution where people are going out and are engaging with these digital technologies to enable them to track and to monitor aspects of their personal health and fitness. And this consumer-led movement is really showing the way for the formal healthcare sector. But despite all of these technological advances, if we look at our healthcare systems and our models, there hasn't been fundamental change in recent years to go along with the technological capabilities. If I was to take an uncharitable view on where we are, I would say that what we have tended to do is to use technological advances in healthcare to look at inefficient processes that are somewhat reactive and passive and to make them more efficient. So what we're doing essentially is tinkering at the margins rather than fundamentally changing the way we go about managing health. And I think a better way for us would be to think about how we can change the model for healthcare to move away from this current system that's reactive, passive and episodic towards a more proactive model where we have an ongoing management of health. And with that in mind, I suppose we heard the Minister talking earlier on about the e-health strategy, and it is a very important underpinning in our move forwards. Yet they're still talking about it being electronic health, and people internationally talk about digital health and wireless health. And I don't like to talk about those terms, and I think it's really good to hear today that we're talking about connected health, because connected health isn't about technology. Connected health is about innovation at a system and a process level. It's about building care around the person and connecting all the stakeholders who are involved in the person's care. So it's not about technology. It leverages technology, but it's not about technology. So let's think for a minute about the principles that might underpin a more proactive and connected management approach to health. Well, the first thing is that we would be talking about management of health, and management of health throughout the lifespan, not management of illness and disease like we currently do. Secondly, the individual or the patient should be firmly placed at the centre of the process and be seen as the controller of the process. And if we accept that, then we also have to accept that if the person is going to be at the center of the process and controlling it, that they also have a certain level of responsibility to become more engaged in the management of their own care. And they can't be just passive recipients of care. We also, we need to provide those people with the tools and the assistance required to enable them to become more involved in their own care. And also the systems that will enable them to integrate their role into the wider stakeholder network in management of care. We need to be better at understanding how to recognise the need for different levels of care, and in particular to recognise when there is an escalation in the need for care. This means we need to seek out processes and technologies that enable us to identify problems much earlier than we currently can today, to enable earlier intervention and tackle problems before they become deep-rooted and intractable. The different stakeholders, I mean, we've heard 5 pitches here, and to me, information is at the center of all of those pitches. And a key principle in a new proactive model would be that the different stakeholders involved in management of a person's health should have access to appropriate information in the right place at the right time, because they need information to inform their interaction with the care process. And that includes the person themselves, not just the healthcare professionals. And then finally, I suppose the last principle I always think of is that when we do need to engage in formal healthcare intervention, it needs to be delivered in the most appropriate setting and context with respect to both cost and clinical effectiveness. So the next thing I want to do is, we've talked about principles. To think about how this might work in practice, I want you to kind of imagine that it's 5 years from now and you're a patient. You live in Wexford, you're in the Ireland East Hospital Group network, or the IEHG network. You consider yourself to be in good health. For 5 years, you've been using the personal sensing devices and your IEHG health app on your phone to track and monitor indicators of your health. You've looked at things like activity, diet, sleep quality, weight, blood pressure, heart rate, mood, quality of life. You haven't measured everything every day, but you have a pretty good monitoring program going, and you signed up to it when you became a member of the IEHG network, even though you weren't sick. You curate all your information over the last 5 years on your client portal on the IEHG software platform. You're able to get reports as often as you like as to your trends in your health and also how you compare to the population norm. A couple of years ago, your app provided you a bit of a warning that you were straying a little bit off the beaten path. Your weight was starting to increase and your activity profile wasn't quite what it should be. So you signed up for a kind of a motivational text messaging service at the time. You also accessed a diet module and some advice with regard to exercise programs, and it got you back on track, so that was great. But just in recent weeks, you've now experienced some discomfort whilst you've been out on your evening walks, and this happened a few times, so you're a little bit worried about it. You use the app on your phone to make an appointment with your GP. You go to your GP, and when you go into the GP, the first thing the GP does is they pull up your history from your annual checkups that are all on your electronic health record, and they also pull up your recent lifestyle data and your exercise data. As well as the standard checkup, the GP also runs a report that looks at the relationships between your heart rate response to exercise whilst you're out walking over recent times, and sees that there has been a bit of a change in your heart rate response to steady state exercise over the previous weeks. So again, using the IEHG software platform, the GP makes an appointment for you to see a consultant, a cardiologist, in 1 week time. You get that appointment on the app on your phone. As well as that, they also ask you to go to the local pharmacy, where the pharmacist will have waiting for you a kit to monitor your blood pressure over 24 hours, and also a patch, a 3-lead ECG device that they want you to wear for 3 days before you go to the consultant. The data from those sensors or those devices will go to your phone and go up to your electronic health record. When you go see the cardiologist the next week, the cardiologist, apart from the normal routine examination, is also looks at your 3-lead ECG data and sees that when you were walking, there was evidence of some ischemic changes on your ECG. So they bring you into their lab, they perform a full stress test under 12-lead ECG, and they confirm their hunch that yes, you do have some mild form of ischemic heart disease. So They put you on a conservative treatment plan, diet, medication, controlled exercise rehabilitation with your local physio. Again, they push this information onto your record. You go to the pharmacist has your drugs there waiting for you. You have an appointment set up with your physio. As well as that, you download an additional app to your phone, which is your personalized treatment plan. And it guides you through your exercise program, it guides you through use of your medication, and gives you reminders for that medication usage. When you go back to see your GP later on, all of that treatment plan, as well as your response to it, is available for the GP to see. Nobody has to wait for reports, nobody has to wait for charts to be mailed out, nobody has to wait for letters at any time. And you get, on that app, you also get biofeedback for your exercise program. You get access to a closed social network where you can interact with other people who have the same condition as you. You also get access to some easy to understand information about your condition. And that gives you quite a lot of comfort, because you don't have to then worry about, Googling the condition and reading some information that might not be very trustworthy. So it's all very positive. You respond very well to treatment, and you thank your lucky stars that you live in Ireland, where we have such a fantastic healthcare service. And so that's not that difficult to imagine. It's not here today, but it's not a million miles away. And one of the good things, I think, is that we have nearly all the technological building blocks for a model of care like that here in this country. In fact, many of the leading companies in this space are Irish. I talked about Apache CG Lead. It's actually one of the best ones that's out there in the market, is made by an Irish company. We also have excellent academic and clinical research infrastructures, and have had very good investment in this space in recent years. So the expertise is here and the capability is here, but we haven't managed to pull it together yet. And there's many parts of the system in place, but I think we're missing one vital ingredient, and that vital ingredient is something that the eHealth strategy promises to deliver, but I think is not delivering half fast enough. We really need an electronic health record platform for this country that is end-to-end and is across all levels of care. GPs, consultants, all stakeholders in care all need access to the same data sharing platform. Because if you think about it, fully integrated and connected care and all the efficiencies that it can bring to us can only really be achieved if all the elements of it are in place. If you have one part of the system that is not working right, then bringing about a fantastic efficiency in another part of the system will only push the bottleneck further down the line. So it's almost an all or nothing principle, and we really need that platform. I think in healthcare today, we have an awful lot of public debate about different aspects of healthcare. And if I could leave you with one thing and one message that could come out of this room today, if I could write the headlines tomorrow, the national conversation about healthcare in this country shouldn't be about keeping accident emergency rooms open on a 24-hour basis in rural areas, or it shouldn't be about the financial model for healthcare. We should be very, very agitated and exercised about putting the fundamentals in place that allow us to actually redesign and deliver a completely new healthcare service. So we're very close to it. We've the different pieces in place, but we need to do it an awful lot faster than we're doing it today. So thank you very much.